You stuck reading endless opinions about which AI tool to use, starting maybe from Cursor to Claude Code, then Codex, then Kiro, and then doing the circle all over again? Yeah, I've been there. This is something that no one ever tells you. The best tool isn't about which model is slightly better this week. It's actually about the tool that gets out of your way and lets you work the way you want it to. I've shipped production code with all three different types of major tools, such as Cursor, Claude, and Opencode. And I keep coming back to Opencode. Not because it's perfect, it's not. But because it solves the problems that actually matter to me, and it helps me deal with real software problems and allows me to ship faster. All right, so in this video, I'm just going to go over the 9 things that I really enjoy about Opencode and why I keep coming back to it. And I also want to mention 2 things that Cursor does really well that no other AI tool does right now, and how you should think about choosing each tool. This is no hype. This is just an honest trade-off from someone who's actually using all of this extensively and shipping to production. But yeah, let's jump in. So I'm going to jump into the reasons why I keep jumping back to Opencode, and I just want to share you my honest opinions and how I feel about it. So reason number 1, everything is open source. So I can actually go to the GitHub repo and see how it works under the hood. It's actually not a black box to me. And I also know the team behind it also developed another framework I really enjoy called SST. And they did an incredible job with SST. So I know they'll do a great job with Opencode. So I got baked behind the team that are actually producing Opencode. So what's nice is if your development tool is actually open source, you can take a peek under the hood and start customizing your prompts and how you interact with it because you actually know how it should work. And just to show how this looks, if we go to the Opencode documentation here, and if you just go up here, you can actually hit here to see the GitHub repo. And you can see when our last commit was done, which was done about an hour ago. And you can pretty much jump through all of this here to see what's going on. You can also see what issues are reported, what pull requests are coming in, if they're getting accepted or not. And I really like this because it allows me to actually see what actually is going on under the hood, especially if I have a problem and I can't quite understand what's happening. Because sometimes the assumptions we make from documentation isn't always correct. So just having this open source availability really allows us to do different things. And if you really have a problem and you want to just solve it, you can actually solve it yourself. Open up a PR and then ask the team to fix it, or you probably should actually open an issue, then fix it, and then open a PR, and then hopefully it gets merged in. But that option is available, which is great. All right, the second reason, Opencode works with any model. It doesn't matter if Claude is great this week and then Gemini is great the next week, I can just slot them in. Not really too much of a big deal in terms of changing my AI tooling just for a different model. It all kind of syncs well together, which is great. So that's the second one. We're not really tied in to one model. We can either use open source models like and run them locally using Olama or even LLM Studio. So it allows us to have some flexibility without actually being locked in, which is actually very important. All right, this takes us into the third reason. There's better time visibility. What do I actually mean by this? I'm actually talking about when you're actually working with Opencode, how it actually outputs the messages. So if we just run here quickly, and we can actually see I'm running something right now, we can actually see it's updating the messages as time goes quite consistently. So I'm just going to cut here and wait for the messages to pop up. But let's just quickly scroll up here. So we can actually see what it's doing. It's jumping through each one, and it's giving us an up-to-date sequence of events. I like it because it feels a little bit verbose compared to maybe Claude Code. You can enable that in Claude Code, but I just like the systematic approach of how it outputs what it's trying to do, like the tool calls and things like that. It just allows me to understand what's happening. So I just really enjoy it. So I get to see errors in real time. I get to navigate between different steps, and it just allows me to do a lot more. All right, the fourth reason why I really like Opencode is the custom tooling feature that they put in. I just prefer building light custom tools that I can use in my workflows. instead of just trying to build different MCP servers and integrate that, I just find this is like a great approach, and I can limit my context using the right tools I care about. So tools will just allow me to do some very precise behaviors, and I can optimize different return values, and it just allows me to interact with tools into a workflow that I might not get as well with MCPs. All right, the fifth reason I really like Opencode is the project versus global configuration. So you can actually have Opencode configured differently per project, and even in the project you can have it as JSON or as Markdown. So you got the preference of both, or you can just establish it in your global and have all your settings and your configs in your global, and it works consistently through your projects. So I just really enjoy this flexibility that you can do both if you want. All right, the sixth reason is I actually really enjoy the undo and redo logic in Opencode. So we'll just do a quick example so you understand what I'm talking about. To quickly show you this retry and undo feature, I'm just going to ask you to make a quick doc with hi there with hello world in it. So we can see here it's just going to create the file, and what's nice is I can either undo that change or I can ask it to retry. So we can see it made the file here. So if we go to this thing here, it's built, it's done. All right, we can see the files here, and if we look into it, we've got our hello world with our personal message. So if we go back to the terminal now, we can just go /undo, and that will disappear. We can see it's no longer there, and we can literally jump back to the terminal, and if we say redo, it will redo the last prompt for us. We don't need to retype it, which is quite nice. So we can see we just press redo, and we actually don't need to rerun the whole prompt again to get the same output. It is back there, so which is quite neat. We can undo and then redo it back in, so we don't need to worry about if we undid it. Oh my goodness, I didn't want to undo everything. We can just do /redo and then we back where we previously were. Reason number 7 is just looking at the sub-agent visibility, so you can jump into sub-agents when they're delegated to actually see what's happening under the hood, how is it actually reasoning, and that's quite powerful too. So if your agent's doing more than what it should, you can start debugging it there. So then you can actually start catering for each agent itself instead of worrying about it's just a black box for you, so you can get detailed information. I just enjoy that. All right, reason 8 is context transparency, and this matters quite a lot to me because I'm really diving deep into this at the moment. I'm trying to really understand what tools it's using, when it's using those tools, and which files it's actually pulling in and reading to pull into context. And this allows me to really optimize different things, and I'm seeing that constantly in Opencode, so it's just great. So I can see the context, I can optimize the structure, which then give me better results. Reason 9, I really like this is the last one. This is the SDK for automation. So just so we're clear, if you go to the Opencode documentation, you get the SDK over here. And in the SDK, you can see all about how to work and run with it. So what I actually like about the SDK is you can actually use it to test for different things. You can run it on a virtual machine or anything like that. And I'm actually using this in one of my repos right now as a testing agent. So I've actually got an eval framework that I'm actually using to test my different Opencode agents I'm building. And with this, I can actually go and use the SDK to run different things, which is quite nice. So you can spin up a server, send prompts to it, and then evaluate different tests automatically using the SDK. But you can also use this for other automated workflows that you want to use. So very handy. So just gives you different options that you can use your Opencode configuration elsewhere than just your local computer, which just opens a lot more possibilities. All right, just to quickly round up my reasons why I keep going back to Opencode. This again is personal to me. I really like the open source of everything. I can see what's happening under the hood. It works with any model. I enjoy the way the UI interacts and gives me real-time visibility what my agents are doing. I enjoy the custom tool feature just because it minimizes context for me. The project versus global configuration, the undo and then redo feature just makes, if I want to undo and then go back very easily. The sub-agent visibility, context transparency, and then the SDK. If I want to make other automations on different machines, I can use the SDK for that. So just very versatile. All right, but this brings us to the one thing. I did say Cursor is good at two things, and I just don't think any AI tool right now beats it at these two things. And I just want to talk about that. So let's go into that. No tool is perfect, but this is going to why Cursor has a bit of an advantage in these two scenarios. So one thing about Cursor, it actually encodes your whole code base. So it's actually using embedding, which is really important if you want to understand where something is in your code base, especially if it's unorganized or maybe it's very huge and there's a lot of technical debt. I think embeddings is really great because you can get all the different areas in a code base quickly from embeddings, where it can then validate if that's actually the code. And just to show what I'm talking about, if you go to Cursor and you go to the settings, and here you'll see there's this index in docs. This index here is actually what's happening. This is actually indexing your whole code base. So with this, it allows to do quite interesting things when you're doing a query. It understands where code could be according to what it needs to find from the embeddings. And funny enough, this actually brings me onto the next section of why I think the strength's really good. So Cursor's team has spent a lot of time trying to understand the semantic queries of how developers ask for code. So this is a layer you can't really see. So when you initiate a query, so if we go back to Cursor and all right, so, if I type this out and actually send a request, there's actually a layer below this that when it's doing that planning step, that's that semantic layer that I'm talking about. So it will then be able to use the embedding function quite quickly to get the semantic stuff from it, and then from that understand. So you can see it started doing the README there quite quickly, but it had passed to these quickly. It didn't have to find it and then pull it in. It probably just grabbed that from the semantics, like, hey, here's the READMEs, this is where you should go, etc. So Cursor does this really well. So just a quick difference between Cursor and Opencode. So Cursor has that semantic embedding trading. So how developers actually search for code can help strengthen the search a lot faster, and it's embedding your whole code base. So everything is a lot easier to get, especially on a very complex and huge code base. Where I would say Opencode really shines compared to Cursor, where Cursor's strengths don't really shine, is if you actually have a well-structured code base, so you actually define where things go and it follows a predictable pattern, I think Opencode is better. I just like using it more. So it can actually use the grep for precise structural code navigation, because Cursor is going to use grep anyway to double check what it has. So Cursor is actually going to double check anyway what it has from its embedding. It's going to still use grep, so it'll still fundamentally do the same thing. I also like Opencode's LSP plus grep for precise, structural code navigation. So it's just really good at finding everything. So if you got like 1,000 or 100 file mono repo with non-obvious patterns, I think maybe Cursor might be your AI tool for choice. But if you are a bit more structured and you've actually kept your code rules and how your development processes work, I think Opencode is a great choice. And that's how I would think about these two right now. So just put down a quick verdict of how I would think about this. Again, I'm maybe a little bit biased, but I would choose Opencode if you value transparency and you want to understand what's actually happening under the hood. You want model flexibility, no vendor lock-in. You love open source and customization, and you have well-structured code, or you're willing to improve it to make sure it is structured. And you want to build custom workflows with automations to a certain degree. All of these can do that, but I feel like Opencode is just a bit more customizational at the moment. And then with Cursor, you're working with a large, maybe messy code base. So maybe you have a legacy code base, so nothing's really well structured, and you really need that powerful RAG-based search with the embeddings and things like that. And you just want maybe the simplest setup, and your team can benefit from the Cursor enterprise plan quite easily. I would use forward code. So you're just happy with Anthropic's models exclusively. You don't think you're going to move off. you enjoy the experience in Claude Code versus other models, and you probably maybe enjoy Claude Code's unique aspect of skills and hooks that other AI tools don't have. So that's kind of how I bucket each AI tooling. All right, this is round everything off. I just want to leave you with this phrase: stop chasing models, stop mastering the tools that you have. I think we're gonna go through this loop constantly for the next 3 years, that one model is going to be better than the one for maybe 3 months, and then the next one's going to come on, etc. I would stop worrying about that. Just master your tool first, and then integrate the models that work best for you. I think we're getting to that point. Getting the incremental model improvements might not matter as much right now if you don't have a good tooling base set up. So really define your tooling and your workflows so it becomes more muscle memory and you've got high confidence in it. So ship real software, master your tools and build with intention. And if this video inspires you to actually try Opencode, I'll link down to the documentation down below and you can give it a try. I also want to share my OpenAgents repo where I'm building custom agents for workflows on top of Opencode. It's still a work in progress, but feel to grab anything that's useful and tinker with it. And just to show you what that looks like, it is OpenAgents. I'll also link a description down below, but you can find all the different ways to grab the agents I'm building. And this will be updated shortly with new and improved agents, especially with testing that I'm doing currently right now. So please, go look at the repo, give it a star if you like it, and give me your thoughts. This was just a quick reason why I'm enjoying Opencode and why I keep going back to Opencode for real world projects. And I just wanted to share that all with you. Also, please just give my OpenAgents repo a try and give me your feedback down below. And again, thanks always for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.